Another business question here. What is self-employment tax and why do I need to pay it? It's a great question. That's one of the new taxes that maybe you haven't heard of before if you've always been an employee, worked in a bigger company. Maybe you don't know for sure what self-employment tax is, but is one of those things that we have to deal with. Now the good news is everyone else has to basically pay the same tax. You guys probably are familiar with your paycheck if you've worked in companies before, that the company takes out Social Security taxes. So they take out FICA, and they take out Medicare, and they basically take out 7.65% of your wages, and they send that to the Social Security system. That pays for Medicare and for Social Security and all those good benefits that we get. Now the good news is this year, you guys may not know this, but for 2011, that Social Security tax rate has actually been reduced. So that's kind of a cool thing. But the Social Security taxes that are withheld from your paycheck, the company that you work for has to match those, and they pay exactly the same amount for you. Now, for the small business person out there, there's really no boss. Since you're both the boss and the worker, you have that benefit of paying both parts of that Social Security tax, and that is what self-employment tax is. Rather than being 7.65 from the employee and 7.65 from the company, it's 15.3% just from you. Sorry about that. I'm not sure. That's not the great news. But as a small business owner, we get to pay both halves of that tax. That's why self-employment tax is 15.3%. But is it exactly the same tax that all other Americans pay, and it all goes into the Social Security system? That's what funds our Social Security benefits and our Medicare benefits. Now the harder part perhaps for the small business guy out there is how do you pay that? Where do you report that? On your new tax forms as a small business owner, the income and expenses you have are going to go on a Schedule C. And we'll talk about that more in the next hour. We're going to be doing a kind of a webinar about how to prepare an audit-proof tax return. So we'll talk a lot about that Schedule C in the next hour, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But all the income and expenses of your new business go on that Schedule C. Well, if you have at least $400 of net earnings, when all the expenses are taken into account, you end up with at least $400, you're also going to have to pay that self-employment tax. And the way you calculate that is on a Form SE. I don't really need to pull up that form, that's probably too boring for you guys at this point. But the Schedule SE, basically just takes the income from your Schedule C and applies that 15.3% tax to it. So that's what self-employment tax is. I'm not sure that it's fun. The fact that we get to pay both halves of it, I'm not sure if that's fair necessarily, but that's the way it is. So self-employment tax really goes to fund the Social Security system, Social Security benefits and Medicare, and self-employment people pay their share through SE tax.